$19 billion bank tax out. $11 billion TARP tapping in.
If we did this in a private sector action, we would all be in jail. This is fraud on the American taxpayer. That's clear and simple.
Lawmakers now planning to dip into the bank bailout fund to help pay for their financial overhaul. And Toby says that senator is right. Fraud.
Well, it would be. It's like crack-based accounting. You know, Washington has always been really creative. I guess that's the code word on some of this stuff. But are you kidding me? To take TARP money, well, first off, to give $85 billion to auto companies, that's fraud to begin with. But the idea that we would then pay for the financial regulation by taking money from that was not spent on TARP that we got back and then call it a payment and not call it what it is, which is robbing, it's a lie.
Eric, this week a guest called it in front of me, Washington's a math-free zone.
Math-free. Here's the problem, though. You know, you can't even really blame them because we knew when this money was going out, the $700 billion in two tranches, and no one said, what are you going to do with it when it comes back, and clarified what we were going to do with it when it comes back. You had to know they were going to find any special interest, any reason to spend it. So it really doesn't surprise me at all that they would go ahead and take only $11 billion. My surprise is they didn't look for the full $21.2 billion that it's going to cost to implement the bill.
Well, it's not over yet, man. The bill's not over.
Perhaps.
Steve, bait and switch.
Every one of you guys is making this complaint. Total crocodile tears. You want Wall Street to keep doing what they were doing before. Your objection isn't TARP money being used for the oversight. What we need to do is make sure Wall Street can never again do to us what they did.
My problem
in 2008.
is that they're using
let me finish, please. We have to make sure that they never again can do it. They don't invest in creating jobs anymore like they used to. They play these private games with money that nobody else is allowed to do. That's what they do. I don't care if we have to hire a private detective agency to have it put a tail on every one of them.
Yeah. Well, go ahead,
Eric.
No, my point is, my issue is that they're using the returned TARP funds for something it was never, ever supposed to be used for. Like Tobin said, cars.
I prefer to have the bank tax. I agree with you.
Gary B.
I agree with you. I'd prefer to have the bank tax. But the objection that senator was complaining about because he doesn't want the bill to pass.
Gary B.
Give him some oxygen.
First of all, a couple points to Steve. A lot of that TARP money spent on evil Wall Street was actually forced on Wall Street. That's number one. Number two, most of those Wall Street firms have paid back their forced loans with interest.
Profits.
That's the money that Obama says we've made on TARP. Number three, this TARP is not like we collected this money somehow and now the government decided to distribute it. It's another big loan. Fourth, on this loan that, again, Obama says we've made money off TARP, we still owe money for AIG, and as Toby pointed out, about $80 billion to the auto companies. Now, to rob Peter to pay Paul? I mean, it's absolutely idiotic. But we did it with Social Security, so I guess we can do it with else. We just make up the numbers.
The government couldn't make a better investment than they are with this TARP money. The government couldn't make a better investment, period, than regulating Wall Street.
Well, but you saw it, Pat. You've seen it with the stimulus. The stimulus is now $862 billion because of tens of billions of dollars more for welfare and Build America bonds and unemployment benefits. Again, it's bad math over and over again.
I guess 2 points. One, I think it's worth reminding people, as Gary B. did, that aside from AIG and the automakers, the TARP money has been paid back. It was a liquidity crisis that was well spent at the time. Second point is that if this money needed to be paid for the financial reform bill, it should have been appropriated separately.
Yep. No question. And remember, the slippery slope has already started slipping here because what's the next thing that the group wants and they don't have a way to pay for it? So let's call TARP.
The foreclosure
I want to agree here for a moment. I want to agree here for a moment. The TARP money was absolutely necessary at the time, but every one of these companies should have been forced to declare bankruptcy first.
Oh, now there's another subject.
Gary,
that is the most asinine statement I've heard on this show, and that's saying a lot.
I totally agree, and it should have started with GM. Why weren't they forced to declare bankruptcy?
Pat, you get the final word.
I want to hear Pat.
They did declare bankruptcy.
GM was essentially bankrupt, and the big difference was the banks were fundamentally decent businesses. Automaking is not.
I wanted you to say that's the most asinine thing you've ever heard on this show again.
Well, we still got time, so hang on.